If love could read the letters I never sent back, it would know I didn't stay silent because I didn't feel anything. I stayed silent because some feelings arrived too late to be brave. My name is Maggie Collins, and for most of my life I believed love was something loud. I believed it knocked, announced itself, demanded space. I didn't know back then that some loves live quietly, surviving on patience instead of promises. I live in Cambridge now, in a narrow house with white siding and a porch that creaks when the weather changes. It's the kind of place that looks warm from the outside, but holds its breath inside. Every sound echoes. Every memory has room to stretch. The morning the first letter arrived, Boston was wrapped in late fall gray. Not the dramatic kind, just that dull heaviness that makes you walk faster and think slower. Wind pressed against the windows like it was trying to get in. The envelope was thin, no return address, just my name written carefully, deliberately, the way someone writes when they want to be remembered. I recognized the handwriting before my mind allowed it. My fingers knew it. My chest did too. I sat at the kitchen table longer than I needed to, didn't open it, didn't move, just stared like the paper might change its mind, because there are names you never forget how to hold. When I finally unfolded the letter, the sound felt too loud in the quiet room. Dear Maggie, I saw your shadow on a stranger today, and it ruined my afternoon. I don't remember when I started crying. I remember the air leaving, like the room suddenly forgot how to breathe. The letter was dated 23 years ago, written the year I left Boston. The year I told myself leaving was ambition, not abandonment. Elliot Harper. I hadn't said his name out loud in years, but my body remembered it, the shape of it, the weight. We met at Boston University. He was literature. I was communications, back row seats, shared coffee we couldn't afford, and conversations that stretched past midnight. Elliot listened the way people do when they aren't planning their response, like he believed every word deserved to land somewhere. I talked fast, thought faster. I believed certainty was confidence. He believed patience was love. We used to walk along the Charles at night, the city lights trembling on the water like they weren't sure they belonged there. He'd tell me stories about books. I'd tell him stories about the life I thought I wanted. When I got the New York internship, I pretended not to see the shift in his shoulders. I told him it was temporary, that we'd figure it out. He smiled and said, "You're going to do great, Maggie." He didn't ask me to stay. I didn't ask him to come. We let silence make the decision. The second letter arrived 2 days later, then another, then another. They came without warning, like the past finally getting impatient. Each one revealed moments I didn't know existed. Nights he stood outside my old apartment and walked away. Afternoons he saw me across the street and didn't call my name. He wrote about opening a bookstore in Beacon Hill, about choosing that neighborhood because it felt like something I'd like, about shelving books carefully like they were people who needed gentleness. He wrote about loving me without interrupting my life. That sentence broke something open inside me, because I interrupted his. I built a life that made sense on paper. Marriage, career, dinner parties where no one asked questions that mattered. But every letter reminded me of the man who loved me without asking to be chosen. I started sleeping badly, dreaming of winters that smelled like snow and paper, waking up with regret sitting heavy on my chest. The guilt wasn't loud, it was disciplined, persistent. I wondered how many moments I'd mistaken for freedom that were actually avoidance. Claire Bennett called me the week after the 7th letter arrived. Her voice was careful, like she was stepping around something fragile. She told me Elliot had passed. Heart trouble. Quietly, on a Tuesday morning. The world didn't pause. It rarely does. She told me about the bookstore, about finding the letters hidden inside old books like secrets that didn't know where else to go. I thanked her, hung up, sat on the floor. Grief is strange when it arrives late. It doesn't knock. It just sits beside you. I drove into Boston that afternoon without knowing why. Parked on a street I used to walk without thinking, the city felt familiar and distant at the same time. The bookstore was smaller than I imagined, narrow, dim, warm. I stood in the doorway for a long moment before stepping inside. It smelled like paper and time. I touched the counter worn smooth by years of waiting, imagined Elliot standing there, pretending not to hope when the bell didn't ring for me. That night, back home, I opened another letter. "Dear Maggie," he wrote, "loving you quietly was never a sacrifice. It was the only way I knew how to stay. I pressed the page to my chest like it might hear me. That's when the question finally found its voice. Why didn't you send them, Elliot? Why didn't you let me know? Why did you choose silence when words could have changed everything?" The answer didn't come right away, but it was waiting, just like he always did. The answer came in the last letter, but by the time I reached it, I already knew the shape of it. Some truths don't arrive suddenly. They settle. They wait until you're tired enough to stop resisting. The final envelope was thicker than the others. The paper inside felt heavier, like it had been holding its breath. I opened it slowly, the way you do when you're afraid the end will take something with it. Dear Maggie, I didn't send these letters because I loved you enough to let you forget me. I stopped reading. My hands shook. My throat burned. He wrote that love shouldn't corner someone, that if he reminded me he existed, my choices wouldn't be free, that he didn't want to be the voice in my head when I said yes to a life that didn't include him. He wrote that silence was the only way he knew how to be honest. I sat there until the sky outside went dark, realizing something terrible and beautiful at the same time. He trusted me more than I trusted myself. All those years, I thought love had to fight to survive. Elliot believed love could step back and still remain whole. I cried for hours, not the neat kind, the kind that empties you. For the man who never interrupted my life, for the woman I was who needed to be interrupted. The next morning, I went back to the bookstore. Boston felt sharper that day. The wind cut through my coat. The sidewalks were crowded with people going somewhere that mattered to them. Inside the shop, the silence felt different. Not lonely, reverent. Claire was there, sorting through books with the kind of care that comes from knowing they hold more than paper. She didn't say much, neither did I. Some places ask you to be quiet out of respect. I walked the aisles slowly, touched spines Elliot must have touched, read titles he chose because they reminded him of something he couldn't say out loud. That's when I realized he never stopped choosing me. Even when I didn't choose him, I brought flowers, left them on the counter, white ones, simple, the kind that don't ask to be noticed. Before I left, I asked Claire for a pen and a piece of paper. My hand hesitated, not because I didn't know what to say, because I finally did. Dear Elliot, I wrote, I heard you. That was all at first. Then more came. I wrote about how I mistook noise for certainty, how I thought love needed to feel urgent to be real, how I didn't understand that some people love by staying, not by asking. I told him I loved him. Not past tense, not present, just honest. I folded the letter carefully and slid it into one of his books, a collection of essays about quiet lives, because that felt right. I left the store feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. Grief doesn't always crush you. Sometimes it clarifies. In the weeks that followed, I kept reading his letters again and again. Each time, I noticed something new. He wasn't waiting for me to come back. He was living. He volunteered at the community center, knew the names of people most of us pass without looking. He found joy in routine, comfort in constancy. He loved me, but he didn't pause his life for me. That's what made it real. I started walking again. Long walks along the Charles, letting the cold wake me up. I started noticing the quiet in my own life, the ways I filled space with distraction instead of presence. I ended friendships that survived only on habit. I stopped pretending my house felt like home. Elliot's letters didn't undo my life. They reframed it. They taught me that love doesn't need witnesses to be true. Months later, I stood in the bookstore one last time before Claire sold it. The bell rang when I walked in. I smiled at the sound. I stood behind the counter and imagined Elliot there, pretending not to hope. "I came," I whispered. The city kept moving. Snow fell without asking permission. Somewhere, a bell rang again. Love doesn't always arrive when you're ready. Sometimes it waits quietly, writing itself into pages you don't know how to read yet. Sometimes it lives its whole life silently. And sometimes, if you're lucky, fate opens the book for you. Not to rewrite the ending, but to finally understand the story.